Okay, in this session we're going to look at shape layers, compositions, and we're going to do a nice little animation. So what we're going to have by the end of the session is something that looks like this. Tree pops up, house pops up, sun pops up, and then car animates in. And we're also going to have a look at the Keyframe assistant within inside After Effects. Okay, so you can see I've got this made up of, let's turn these off, sky, ground, tree, house, sun, cloud, and a car. Now this car is a composition, so if we double click we can open it. We got the car body, wheel 1, wheel 2. So what we want to do is, let's start and do it ourselves. So I'm going to delete that first of all. I'm going to create a new composition. Let's call it car animation. 10 seconds, 25 frames per second, HDTV 1080-25. Just click OK. Alright, so first of all I'm going to make the sky. So I'm going to go layer, new, solid, change it to a nice blue, or well, don't have to really, because we want to put a ramp, a gradient ramp on this. So come to your effects and presets, search for ramp, and this gradient ramp, click and drag it on. And this is just a simple gradient which you've used before. I want the black colour to be a nice sky blue, and then it fades off to a sort of white. So if we look in this one, you can see I've used it there. Okay, let's make that blue a little bit darker. There you go. Cool, so that's looking good. Next I want to create, or I want to rename this to sky. So yeah, next I want to create a shape layer for the ground. So if I were to select this rectangle and this sky layer was selected as well, and I were to just click and drag, it creates what's called a mask, and it hides everything else apart from the stuff inside here. We don't want to do that, so when we draw it we want to make sure that this rectangle is selected but this layer isn't. Okay, and now we can select the fill. So we want a sort of green colour for our ground, something like that. Click and drag, we've got a ground layer. So let's right click, rename, ground. Now next I think I'm going to do the tree, and this is with the pen tool. So we want to make sure ground isn't selected. I want to click and drag, so we've got a nice sort of curve that will happen. Click and drag up here, click and drag, and we'll get rid of that curve later. Click and drag, something like that. Click and finish it off for there. So I'm going to hold Control and pull these handles to get a desired look. Okay, takes a little bit of time to finesse these skills. They can be tricky, but to be honest I'm not really that picky on how it looks at the end of the day, as long as you can, you know, create a nice animation and stuff like that. So that's going to be fine. I may want to move these points up to make the trunk a little bit taller, so shift select them both and pull up. There you go, that's my tree trunk. Now let's rename it tree, and let's go fill. Let's make it a nice brown colour. Okay, now we want to stay on that tree layer, get the pen tool and start drawing just, you know, something like a tree shape. It really doesn't have to be best. You know, I'm not going to spend too long because we want to look at animating and look at some keyframe techniques. And obviously yes, it's brown at first, but we can fix that. Okay, so something like that, but then you can spend some time just finessing it and tidying it up. Hold Control if you want to do one handle at a time. Sorry. Oh, why is it not doing it? There you go. Okie dokes. So start moving these around so they're not as obscure. So there you go. Just do that one. Can be very fiddly, this, but just get some nice sort of kind of tree shape, and this one down, just so it kind of resembles a tree in a sense. And there's something like this is getting a little bit nicer ever so slightly. Bring this in. It just looks like a rough kind of tree then. Okay, cool, I'm happy, just about happy with that. So I'll go and, oh, don't know what happened there. I can come into this tree layer, and we've got something called contents, and we've got shape 1 and shape 2. So I'm going to select shape 2 because that was the second one I did, and I'm going to change the fill of that to a nice green. Or I can use this eyedropper tool to match it to the same green as the floor, and click OK. So we've got our tree all in one shape layer now, and if we come down to the contents, you can see shape 1 will rename it to trunk, and shape 2 will rename it to leaves. Okay, so we've got our tree and our ground done. Next one I'm going to do, I guess, is house. So for this I'll start off, make sure no layers are selected, get the square tool, just get a nice sort of dull red brick colour, something like that, and just draw a shape like that. And now within that I'm going to draw the windows as well, so I'm going to draw like so, and another one, and obviously at the moment they're all the same colour, but we can fix that in a minute, just like we did with the tree. And let's draw a door. Okay, so you can see we've got rectangle 1, rectangle 2, rectangle 3, all within this layer. Okay, so we've actually got the house separate and then all the windows separately. That was my mistake. So we'll rename this house base. Okay, and we can keep that one colour. And then we'll rename this house, so we'll rename it windows and doors, no issue. So we can select individually rectangle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we want the first 4, so shift select the first 4, and we can change the fill of these to a sort of whitish silvery kind of look, or maybe add a hint of blue in there so it's reflecting the sky. Then get rectangle 5, which is the door, and change that to sort of maybe a sort of greyish brown. There you go. And I just want to quickly rename door. Right click, rename window, Control C that, rename window 2, rename window 3, rename window 4. So we don't have to do that, but it does make it easier, to be fair. And within this windows and doors, let's make sure we also put and roof. Put a column in there. And then we're going to draw the roof. So get the pen tool for this. Click, shift click so it makes a straight line, and then click up here and then close the shape. And I'm happy with that colour for the roof, to be honest. So we've got the roof there. Let's rename it to roof, and I want to move it over slightly because it's a little bit off, so get the select tool, get the roof, and just want to move that over slightly. So we've got our house. Unfortunately split in two, but that's kind of good because I'll be able to show you another sort of technique. So next is going to be, let's do the sun. So make sure on a new layer, let's get a yellow, and just click, hold down. There's our sun. That one fairly easy, and rename it sun. And I'm going to get the pen tool next. So click. I want a grey for the cloud, and again, pen tool's a bit tedious, but let's create something like this. click and drag until you get something which maybe slightly resembles a cloud. I mean, mine really doesn't at the moment, but yeah, let's get the select tool, start modifying it, the shape of it, so it just looks a little softer. Let's pull this one out. Okay, and just play around with it until it looks nicer than mine. Let's get these, bring these in. So it's starting to look a little bit better, ever so slightly. And start just getting it looking better. There you go, with not much playing around, I did get it looking nicer. So it can be a bit intimidating, the pen tool. So if you end up selecting it like that, just come down into the contents and just reselect it like that. Select individual points, and there you go. You end up getting something which is fairly resemblant of a cloud. Okay, so that's all cool. Right. So let's rename this to cloud. Now the final thing we want to create, let me move that up a bit. Final thing we want to create is a car. So we've done well so far creating them. Now I want to create a car. So I'm going to get the pen tool, change my fill to a red. So yeah, something like that. And I'm just going to start creating a very kind of basic car shape. Something like this. So there's room for the wheels, and let's come across maybe a bit more, and let's make room for the wheels again, something like that. And we've got a very, very basic car shape, and you can spend some time making it look nicer, but I'm not going to bother really too much. Okay, so let's call this car base, and then let's get 2 wheels. So let's get a black circle, make sure nothing's selected, and do something like that. Rename wheel 1. Let's drag the car base on top. So we've got this wheel 1 behind. That looks fine. And then I may just duplicate wheel 1, so we've got wheel 2, and we can drag the second one over, which we duplicated, to here. Now within car base I do want to make another shape, so I'm going to get the pen tool, and let's make 2 more shapes for the windows, like so. So that's 1, that's 2, and we want to, once we've done this, close it up, we want to go into the contents. So contents, shape 1 is the first one we made, so that was base of the car, or body, window 1, and rename window 2. So let's select both of these, and we want to change the, so let's get the select tool, it's important. Let's get window 1 and window 2, let's change the fill again to a very sort of light blue, so it's kind of reflecting the sky. Okay, so that's our car base and the 2 wheels. Now we want to be animating these 3 together, car base, wheel 1 and wheel 2, coming from left to right together. So one way we can sort of manage that is select the 3 of them, right click and go pre-compose, okay? And what this does is it flattens those 3, like when you flatten layers in Photoshop, flattens them into a composition. So we'll call it car. Make sure move all attributes into the new composition is clicked, and click OK. So now you can see it's flattened it into 1 and it's called car, and I've already got a car, and that was for the other one, so let's just delete that. That was when I did it before. So if we double click this car, it opens it up in here, and we can see if we turn this background off, this is exactly what we've got in here. It's just like kind of a folder of the 3 sort of layers. Okay, so we can animate them and move them all together. Alright, so now we've done that, it's time for the animation part. So let's animate things one by one. So we've got the ground, that's already there. We've got the tree. So we want this to scale up. So if we scale it, you can see it's scaling from that anchor point. We want it to scale from the bottom in this instance. So let's move that anchor point to the pan behind tool. Move the anchor point to the bottom. Set a keyframe for the scale and lower it to 0. And then come forward about 10 frames. And let's set a keyframe for 100. So you can see it pops up. And then we're going to go to the see earlier house and house base and this windows, doors and roofs were in separate ones, so we need to shift select them both, pre-compose these and call it house. Okay, so now we can do them all together. So if we double click, you can see everything's in there, and we'd have to animate them separately, and that's just a mess, so we won't do that. So we want to scale this up, and you can see it's going to be doing it from the center, but we want to do it from the bottom. Let's move the anchor point to the bottom so it scales from the ground. Set a keyframe for scale, change it to 0, come forward 10 frames, shift and page down jumps 10 frames by the way, and type in 100. So you can see that also scales from the ground. Next is the sun. Turn that on. Come S, so we want to scale that up, and if we scale it down you can see again anchor point's in the wrong place, so move that to the center. I want to scale this up, scale this one from the center, change scale to 0, hit the stopwatch to make a keyframe, go forward 10 frames, 100, and there we go. That's scaling up as well, one after each other. So the cloud, we want that constantly moving, so let's get the select tool, hit P for position, turn the eye on by the way, keyframe there, move forward about, say, for the whole 10 seconds, and have it move like so. Maybe that's too much. By the way, if you don't want it to be on top, you can just put the house layer above. But, oh, wrong one. Cloud. But that's too far for it to move, I think. So over the whole animation, you can see the cloud moves like so, which is cool. Now the last one is the car, so we'll turn that composition on, and we want the car to come in after everything's scaled up. The car's actually a little bit big at the moment, so I'm going to scale that down to about 80% and move it down. Okay, so let's move it off to the side, hit P, keyframe it. This keyframe should be at the beginning, or no, around about here, so just as that's scaling up, or no, just as it's finished. And then come forward about maybe 20 frames and drag this. I'm holding shift to keep it straight, drag this in. Okay, now so far we've got an animation that looks like that. Now if you look in the one I did before, car exercise, I have deleted the car, but you can see these keyframes aren't diamonds, they're something else. They're different shapes. And if we open these up in something called the graph editor, we won't be going in this today, but you can see instead of being linear, they've got a little bit of a curve to them. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. It's not that complicated. Basically, if you select these keyframes, so that this goes it goes from 0 to 100 very sort of linearly, if you get what I mean. It goes 0 to 100, it doesn't ease in. So if we right click them, go to keyframe assistance and go to easy ease, it's sort of, let's play this back. So I'm going to make the keyframes a little bit larger. I'll solo the layer just so you can see what I mean. N. So let's have a look. You can see as it comes to the end, it kind of slows down a little bit gradually, and it's a soft kind of animation. If we go undo it actually, so it's not easy ease anymore. It's just these diamonds, and let's bring these back out and solder this layer. If we preview it now, you can see it just, let's make that a little bit longer so you can see it. What you'll see is it goes from 0 to 100 straight, linearly. There's no sort of slowdown at the end. Okay, so then when we easy ease, kind of eases into it at the end. So yeah, that's cool. So we're going to do that with everyone. So let's move this back to frame 10, and let's select these ones. Easy ease. The cloud, we don't need to do it to the cloud one. Let's do it to this one. Easy keyframe assistance, easy ease. And the car I'm going to leave for now because I'm going to try and show you again. So let's single out the car. So if we look at this, you can see, let's make that a little bit longer. You can see when the car animates in, it comes to an immediate stop. Now if this keyframe on the end was easy ease, let's have a look. Okay, play through again. You can see it sort of just slows down. Just slows down. So if we go in to our graph editor by here, we can click this, click position, we can click this, actually tell you what, we're going to save that for a later session, just easy ease these keyframes, and let's give that a playthrough. So take that solo off. So this is what we've got. Cool, that's not too bad. I'm also going to add motion blur, so I'm going to turn motion blur on for every layer and turn it on for the composition. So the car should have some motion blur. Oh, it's coming in, yeah. So let's give that another playthrough, and that'll look a lot more sort of aesthetically pleasing. So let's give that a preview. You can see that's got a little bit of motion blur as it scales up, which is good. It does take longer to calculate, so it will slow your preview and your render down, but it is worth it for sure. So let's have a look. It's nearly done, nearly done. Okay, one more frame. There you go. So let's let that play through. You can slow it down if you want by spacing the keyframes out, but that slow moving cloud in the background is nice. So that's all I'm going to show you for this one. Sorry it's been a bit long, but there you go. Awesome. Cheers for tuning in.